Due to circumstances outside my control, I haven't been as active on YouTube lately. Okay, relax. I am nearly done a fairly large new Mac video, but it may not be done during Macintosh. And not the G3, that's my editing rig. So for now I'm releasing the lost first episode of the 4-part Denfield Hoard series. A little video about Mac accessories. I hope you enjoy it, and happy Macintosh. So some dude had hoarded the crap out of a former church. Filled it with obsolete tech and junk over the course of 20 years, including a lot of Mac computers from the 90s. The new owner who inherited the hoard was selling it off. He said he didn't even know that the church pews were still there, it was piled so high. There was a lot of Apple, plus Atari, Next, Amiga, everything but IBM PCs. A Mac collector's dream. What he dragged out of the pile, you have a nice little time capsule of the early to mid-90s. With the rarer stuff picked over by more serious collectors, one guy dropping $1,500 on stuff, another guy buying 2 G3 all-in-ones and having them shipped 4,000 kilometers to British Columbia. I went in to look for some of the hidden and less expensive gems. Let's take a look at what I uncovered from what became known, by me, as the Denfield Hoard. Two Kensington TurboMouse trackballs, version 3 and version 4. With these ones you could actually substitute a pool ball. Here's the iconic 7 ball to prove it. As of version 3 they went to ADB connectivity and had ADB ports on the sides like the keyboard did. But in the 4th they got moved to the back, which made more sense for chaining devices. The version 3 had access to dip switches to modify what the buttons controlled. In the version 4, they figured maybe not do that and was moved to software. I already had the version 1 Kensington TurboMouse trackball. It was briefly featured in this 1985 Macworld footage.
On the hardware side, there are variations on the mouse idea, like an oversized trackball for users who tire of the space-hungry mouse that came with their machine.
Kensington would even include the mouse pocket, where you could retire your old mouse, as they put it, and meant to hang on the side of your Mac or monitor. I don't know what the scheme was with that. Maybe Kensington figured that psychologically it would provide a sense of security that the mouse is still there and available to fall back on. And mind you, you could connect the mouse to the trackball to have both devices active and flip back and forth between the two.
You just do anything?
No, you don't use them at the same time. Kensington was consistent on how they would match the casing to the Apple keyboard of the day, and many competitors did the same. Speaking of keyboards, I got an original Apple extended keyboard out of the hoard. I don't know why no one grabbed this, because this is the original extended keyboard made for the Macintosh 2. Power key might be damaged though, it doesn't push down. It's massive compared to the original keyboard. A friend of mine said they'd call this the aircraft carrier back in the day. Jeff Raskin, who started the Macintosh project in the late 70s, proposed a $20 keyboard with built-in numeric keypad for his low-end computer that the rest of us could afford. I am so sorry, Jeff. Opening it up, we see very simple construction, which is why I like this one even more than the extended keyboard too. Okay, well the power key works now. That's weird because I didn't actually do anything. A bit of cleaning can make a huge difference on these grimy keys. I'm thinking of retrobrighting this. The classic Apple logo on the bottom corner of the keyboard should be removed before retrobrighting. It being winter, I'll need to use UV lamps in place of sunlight. I'll come back to that. I got some more keyboards. 2 keyboard 2s. I did not notice that the Apple logo is hacked up on this one. The other is almost not yellowed at all, even though it's the older of the two. It has the model sticker on the back rather than being molded into the case. The molded label is not as readable and not as cool, I think. Mac Alley keyboard. These third-party keyboards are kind of interesting how shamelessly they copied the Apple design. In this case, the Apple Extended Keyboard 2.
Well, no, it's not really a spin-off. It's more of a rip-off.
But gave cheapskates an ADB alternative to Apple's pricey offerings. You miss out on the Extended Keyboard 2's bizarre slide-out foot on the back, though. When you slide the switch back, it's a mousetrap-like retraction. And I grabbed an iMac G4 keyboard that, as far as I've observed, always yellows up like nobody's business. If I could figure out how to reverse that, it'd be amazing, but I think it's different plastics than Retrobrite works on. I need to take it apart anyway because the crystal clear enclosure shows all the dirt, food, and staples that have fallen into it. Okay, forget Kensington, here's the Silhouette. So what is the Silhouette? No, not a giant novelty mouse, a third-party trackball by eMac. Not to be confused with eMac. Here's a magazine ad for it. Dates back to 1991, which is evident by the System 7 reference, and the bright colors. The multicolored trackballs really caught my eye. What's that about? Apparently they are differentially weighted, so the user has choice of weight. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm not a trackball guy. Let's check the weights on a laboratory scale. We got the gold standard Kensington at 120, 121 grams. What's the weight range on these for? Okay, that's random. And by the way, the colors were chosen to match the company logo. The construction looks a bit cheap compared to Kensington. Here's Kensington's metal rollers, albeit a little corroded. Kensington would also offer colored trackballs for the version 4. I don't know how many viewers remember the old classic computer stores of the 80s and 90s, but they were always very memorable to visit, somewhat different than the computer store experience today. Anyway, there would usually be a shelf near the ceiling in the store, and that's where something like the Silhouette would sit for years gathering dust, alongside some niche Apple computer board that hardly anyone would ever need. The Silhouette itself packed in soft-colored slab foam. Classic packaging. I missed grabbing the manual and disc, so thank God for Macintosh Garden. Okay, forget Silhouette. How about the original trackball? It was invented by Canadians in the early 50s as a control for radar equipment. The inventors used a standard Canadian 5-pin bowling ball. That is such a Canadian thing to do, I can hardly believe it. Okay, I'm going to stop here, but next episode of the Denfield Hoard, we've got an actual Mac to look at.